All right, welcome everybody. We're actually going live here on Rumble as well. So we're just trying it out. Why not? Why not? We also crossed. We're well over 150,000 views now across all platforms. And this past month, our YouTube has outpaced our TikTok, so that's cool. Our shorts. That's what's up. That's what's up. So, but either way, just wanted to jump into some things this week. We have a bunch of things happening with tariffs. We have a bunch of things happening on the global stage, obviously. We also are going to go over a couple things about Christians being persecuted there in particularly India on this month. They're getting designated as like a place of concern by a couple international Christian organizations. We're also going to go over Steven Crowder becoming based, which is, it's kind of a new development. No shade at him. Everything I've heard from him, over the past couple of years has been kind of in one direction, not very based, but he's back. He's back. So, and then we're also going to go over Argentina, maybe a little bit about Javier Milei. He's actually been doing really well down there, which is surprising. We kind of expected it to kind of take a dip as far as popularity because, well, he cut government spending, right? Everybody thinks, oh, you cut government spending means you have to lose jobs, means unemployment goes up, means, a lot of what we think of bad things happen, and, popularity was thought to have go down. That's what we thought. Not exactly true, apparently. Wisconsin had some elections. We're going to jump into that. That's pretty cool. And then we'll also get into the maternity leave debate in Congress about can you vote if you're getting ready to have pop and have a baby? Can you vote remotely, essentially? So, yeah, that's what we're jumping into. Cody's here in the gulag.
Sup?
There we go.
Fam. Ugh. He's sick. I said that.
He had a moment of autism. It's okay. It happens to the best of us. No, I'm pretty excited to jump into things. First things first is tariffs. Here we go. Cody, have you heard anything about the tariffs lately?
Didn't they just, all of them go into effect yesterday?
They went into effect, baby. They went into freaking effect. They are now matching. It's a tariff. So if somebody tariffs us, we tariff them the exact amount back, which I think is just a genius thing, right? So butter, all these other things that Canada tariffs on, they're going to be in big trouble. I'm going to be very interested to see what it does to the markets. I feel like the markets have already heard that this is coming and they know Trump is serious. So we've already seen that decline. I don't think we're going to see a continuation of just a tumble down. But either way, it's very, very interesting. We've seen a lot of investments from countries, and also Trump is talking about tariffing cars specifically from the EU and whatnot. This will really hurt companies like BMW, who are competing with Mercedes. Mercedes, a couple of their lines are 100% made in Alabama, so that's kind of interesting. They are going to get around the tariffs, and their direct competition in a lot of these different, I would say, niches within the car industry is BMW. So BMW is going to be getting their butts kicked, which is good. I love to see it. I mean, that's the whole goal. The whole goal is, hey, if you're doing stuff here, we're going to reward you. But tariffs, also an interesting thing. Cody, you actually like this. Guess what? The USA, Daddy Trump, has now put on tariffs onto Israel, 17% on their goods.
What?
17%. And apparently, reports say that the Israeli economic department is completely shocked because they cut their tariffs. So they're not tariffing us now, and we're tariffing them.
Wow.
So I don't know what happened. Daddy Trump might only last a couple more hours, but, it was a good run.
They're gonna think he's a Kennedy and go after him.
Yeah, they're like, who do you think you are, the president? But no, I thought that was really interesting. I think it rights a wrong. I think a lot of these things do is that, I was thinking about this earlier today, and tariffs it's a catch-22, right? So when you export a lot of your manufacturing, most things in life are like this. So there's a give and take. There's rarely a thing or a decision that you make in geopolitics or economics that is just 100% a bad idea, right? Where you end up in a place where you have no advantages and it's only downside. Typically, there's a give and take. And I think in this particular scenario, it's a give and take over the past, I would say, 40 years, where a majority of our manufacturing has gone out to China and overseas. America used to have a good percentage of the world's manufacturing. You could actually just look at it, Cody. Does it say Canada and Mexico are exempt from reciprocal tariffs?
No. So it's this was 26 minutes ago, and it was saying Canada has expressed readiness to remove its tariffs on the United States contingent on the U.S. reciprocating.
Gotcha. So they're already bending the knee. Literally, it took 2 hours. Let's go, baby. So anyway, very interesting. So like I was saying, it's typically a give and take. It's not a one-way street. So what we see is that America had really sent a lot of its jobs over to China. China, when we first started mass manufacturing there, as far as American companies, the average wage was 8 cents an hour. 8 cents an hour. So you can imagine, I mean, that's just so much lower than the US. So what happened is that we ended up just consuming so many more things. And this is kind of normal for the United States. We just continued to import. And as we grew, we just kind of kept shipping our manufacturing abroad. And then our dollar is worth so much more than, the Chinese yen or a lot of different currencies across the world. I was going to say the euro, but not necessarily the euro. But, let's go before the euro. All those European countries, we were way better off than the pound, except for the pound, I should say. So what happens is that our dollar is worth more. We can get this stuff manufactured for next to nothing, right? It's like 8 cents an hour. And what happens is that then we're pumping their economies full of US dollars, which is just so much more valuable for them. So all of a sudden, their economies start to grow. What does that mean? Well, that means that they're able to make more stuff more efficiently. They're able to make way more expensive products for us. And then we just keep consuming. We just keep consuming. So what happened is that we just kept spreading money across the world so much that they just kept feeding us more and more and more. We just got fat. We have just been eating and consuming so much of everything that we're in this place where we don't really make anything, but everybody ships their stuff here. We are the world's customer. Everybody, almost every nation across the world is making stuff, and who's their customer? It's the USA. They're going to buy the stuff. So that puts us in an interesting position here, because guess who has the power? The customer. The customer decides what happens. So that's kind of what we're seeing now, is that the customer is going to really, really decide what's going to happen in the future. So Trump's idea currently is, okay, we're in this position now where we consume everything. Is there a way that we can just start making more stuff here? But not only that, can we tax and tariff the things coming into the country? The idea is not to bring in all manufacturing into the U.S., and that's what a lot of people will say. It's not necessarily true. I think the goal is to really make these foreign companies bite the bullet and lower their margins, right? So let's say we instill a 20% tariff on a country, or a 10%. Let's just say a 10% tariff on China. If we do that, what we're going to do is we're going to force them to eat some margin, because guess what? There's probably another country that can make it for cheaper, or it might make sense for that company to start making stuff here or find a different manufacturer here rather than in China. So the goal is to make them eat their margins to where, yeah, we might see an inflation rate of 2.5%, 5%. We have seen that forever. It doesn't matter. So it's not going to affect us. But yet we're able to pull massive amounts of revenue off everything coming into the United States. And not only that, but products that are really, really close, right? Products that, okay, it saves us, 5% to make overseas. Well, if Trump throws a 10% tariff on it, they're going to bring it back to the U.S. So we're going to see an increase in manufacturing jobs, which are really high paying. And we're just not going to see that a mass exodus of the world coming back to the United States to manufacture. We're just going to see some, and we're going to see a massive amount of tax revenue. That's the goal. That's what Trump's going after. Trump's going after tax revenue. He is right in saying that these tariffs have not been fair. Canada has been imposing tariffs on us. we haven't been imposing tariffs on them. Well, they're going to do it if we're going to let them, right? Because they're like, you're our biggest customer. Will you buy from us? We're like, yeah, we'll buy from you. And then they're like, but we want to keep all of our own stuff in-house. We don't want you to be selling us anything, right? We want to keep all of our money within our own economy. So we're going to put tariffs on all these different industries. So Trump in the beginning was able to say, let's do fair trade, right? We'll do reciprocal tariffs, which is a big deal to people. That will make American companies a lot more competitive, which is awesome. But now I think Trump's going to go a little farther, and it's not just about that. I think it's also about tax revenue because he wants to get rid of the income tax. Now, this is a catch-22 because if Trump gets a bunch of extra tax revenue, that's cool, right? It will increase inflation on everyday products by I'm going to estimate a much lower rate than what people are saying. People are saying it's going to increase it by 10%. It's like, no, I think it'll be like 2 to 5% year over year. I don't think it's going to be anything crazy. But the problem is, are they actually going to eliminate the income tax? Right? I don't want the government getting a bunch of extra money for no reason. I mean, the government doesn't help us out anyway. So why does it matter, right? Like if Trump just, makes it a little bit more expensive for everybody and he eliminates the income tax, I'm totally fine with that. And we get a bunch more jobs.
Because we'll still be coming out on top.
Exactly. We'll still be coming out on top. You cut, let's just say he cuts income tax down to 5%. Don't even get to 0. Cut it down to a flat rate, 5%. I'm also totally fine with that because we're really rolling. We're in a better position before President Trump came in comparative to after. But if he doesn't eliminate the income tax or just does it with an executive order and the next president comes in and signs it right back, we're cooked, right? Because then it's like, oh my goodness, things got more expensive for no reason. And the government just got fatter and, is making more money. So all that being said, we'll see what happens. I am impressed that he tariffed Israel. I didn't think that was ever going to happen. So who knows what happens? We'll see what happens. But I see Alex Becker tweet about crypto. If you don't know who he is, he's a big crypto guy.
That's hilarious, bro.
And basically, I didn't check my portfolio today. Can you look at Cardano ADA for me real quick? What's the price?
This is such a stupid comment.
Oh, man.
Oh, my gosh. Anyway.
People are like, is this what you voted for? It's like, hey, man, things aren't terrible here. Oh my Lord. All right, go to the 5-day. I think it's actually worse than that.
Oh.
That's down 10%, man. This is
the lowest it's been.
It's not great. Not great.
I'm not worried. I don't have that much in it.
I just lost a lot of money, boy. It's going down.
Down 9.1% today. Or, sorry, past 5 days.
Go to the month. Watch that.
3% in the past month.
Okay, go to the 6 months.
Wow.
What?
It's up 84% in the last 6 months.
Dude, it was so low for a while.
It was so low.
It was so low. That's when I was crying little tears.
Dude, that's like right before the election. And
so Trump gets elected, it goes way up. And then now it's kind of like Cody said, it's up 84%, at least Cardano is. But anyway, it's interesting. The markets are going to be affected by it. I'm interested, and I hope Europe gets brought to its knees. That's what I want to see. I want to see a lot of these countries that don't consume anything. These countries that don't consume anything are going to be in big trouble because if their number one customer says, I'm going to cut back my purchasing from you by 20%, and you don't consume anything, you don't have any other sources of income, that means your economy gets a 20% hit. And that's a big problem because a lot of these countries aren't doing well anyway. Italy, Greece, all these places. Germany, they're all not doing that well financially, France especially. So if we cut them by 20%, just off of the tariffs, not saying we don't want to trade with you, but because tariffs are going to incentivize people to start making stuff elsewhere or in the U.S., it's going to be a big, big problem for Europe. And they're going to really hurt. So we'll see. We'll see. They just don't consume anything. Awesome. All right. So Argentina, going on to our Argentina spot here. Javier Milei's approval rating is continuing to just go up, and nobody understands how or why. The dude has cut so many workers, so many departments. It's awesome. He still has a really high approval rating. It appears as if he's completely destroyed inflation already, and he's really kind of going on the whole idea of getting external countries to invest in Argentina, and so much foreign capital is pouring into the country. Hasn't in years. And Argentina could be a real powerhouse in the next 10 years if they keep on this trajectory. So I'm really hopeful for him. It's interesting because he is the libertarian view, which I think is obviously, I mean, it is very legitimate, especially when you're talking about overspending in government. So yeah, he just cut government spending. This is exactly what we need to do here in the U.S. And guess what? It didn't hurt the job markets that much because those people can probably get hired somewhere else, and those people aren't doing anything. So they're not contributing to society. They're not creating products. They're not moving the bar forward. So when those people get into other roles that even just minutely move the bar forward and minutely create things and create value, then all of a sudden you see the whole economy get better. Shocking. Shocking if you don't have, 20% of your population sitting on their butt and you get them working. It's pretty cool. But so that's Argentina. We're going to keep an eye on that. I'm going to be interested to see what happens over time. But yeah, going over to Wisconsin. Wisconsin had their election in which the Republican lost the Supreme Court race and the Democrats won, so that's a big win for Democrats. However, now federal an ID for the federal elections, and I think all their elections now require ID to vote. So that's pretty cool, especially on the federal level where we're counting on Wisconsin to maybe choose the president of the United States. It's pretty cool that we're going to know that U.S. citizens are voting.
Yeah, so it was required before. It was a state law before. It's just now enshrined as an amendment in their constitution. So it's not like a new legislative body can come in and just change it with like a simple bill. They say it's going to be a lengthy process that has to go to, again, the state. Like everybody in the state has to vote it as an amendment. And so it's a whole lot harder to just overturn that.
Gotcha.
So that was kind of the idea there, I believe, anyway. But
yeah, because, I mean, in that case, it's guaranteed at least for the next election to have voter ID.
Yeah.
Right? There's nothing they can do in between then and there.
Yeah.
They can maybe vote on it again, but I doubt they do that back to back.
But it passed at a 60-40 margin. So
not even close.
Yeah.
Sweet.
So
good. That's good. That's a good idea. I mean, that's what Republicans should be pushing for. I heard Trump's also going to be pushing for that at a federal level.
Yeah.
I think that should just be required. I mean,
it's so stupid why it wouldn't be.
Well, here's a good example.
Why would you not?
Look at a 50-50 state like Wisconsin. Over 60% of people voted for it.
Yeah.
That shows you that it's a majority of Americans are really for this.
Yeah.
It's not like a total 50-50 partisan issue. It's not. It's, do you think the only reason that you wouldn't want IDs is you want non-contributing peoples of society to be able to vote, right? If you can't get your butt out of bed and go down and get an ID, you don't deserve to vote. And if you don't know how, you chat GPT. And if you're too dumb to chat GPT, I don't know what to say.
You shouldn't be voting anyway.
You definitely shouldn't be voting. Like if you can't do what AI tells you to do, don't live. So, but then on top of that, or there's another idea that maybe you just want voter fraud. I mean that's another option. So why don't you just eliminate the voter fraud 100%? It's not 100%, but at least clear people's minds, right? To say, yes, with each ballot, there is an ID, associated with it. Because we've all heard stories out of Michigan that one year that, there was more people that actually voted than were on the voter registration. Like, there's always this weird stuff in different counties, and it's just like, it clears the air. You have to have faith in the voting, or else you're not going to have a country. Like, if you don't... That's what I was kind of feeling like the right wing was going to, which apparently is like 52% of the country in this past election, was kind of feeling like the election wasn't really that real, and like, why even have an election, right? Why don't we just have Daddy Trump become king? Who cares, right? Because if we vote, we just know that they're going to come up with new votes in an obscure county in Michigan, right? Or a big city in PA, like Philadelphia.
I mean, I've never really understood the whole, like, you had to get your voter registration card. It's like, I don't understand that. You have to bring your ID, at least in West Virginia, you bring your ID and your voter registration card, and you have to have registered. It's like, okay, if I'm a citizen, isn't that, like, registration enough? Like, I don't know. As long as you show your ID that you're old enough to vote, that you're 18, I don't get the whole registration thing.
I think for them, it's more county, so making sure that you only vote at a specific precinct, that way they know you're not double voting. I think that's more what it is.
Yeah, but couldn't you?
You could get a centralized system, but then that gets a little scary.
That's true.
Right?
Yeah.
So you could do a centralized.
Okay, I understand. That makes more sense if it's more on the county side, because you're only supposed to Well, I guess you technically are only allowed to vote at your precinct.
I think at your district, right? Isn't that like with the House? Because also that's more what it's for too. Is like, hey, you go vote here, so that way you can vote for your House representative too.
Yeah.
Which we didn't do so well on as a country in the House, but it's okay. It's what it is.
It happens.
But yeah, so it's a win and a loss for both the Republicans and the Democrats. Look, everybody's happy. Everybody's like, at least Democrats are like, we might have lost that, but at least we won the Supreme Court in Wisconsin. And the Republicans are like, we lost the Supreme Court, but at least we got voter registration. So everybody's happy. Everybody's happy. That's what we like to see. Not really. Probably means both sides. Both sides are evil, so it don't really matter. It doesn't really matter what we want. Also, do we have any viewers on YouTube Live? Let me guess. I'm going to say no.
I don't know if I can tell.
I'm going to guess
Hang
we
on.
have absolutely zero. Rumble. I'm sorry.
I can't even tell, by the way.
Dang. So, we're just like.
It says one total.
Dang. Hello, our one viewer.
Maybe?
Or Rumble.
Or I don't know if that's what that is.
Well, it's what it is. Maybe we do. Maybe we don't. But yeah, that's pretty cool. And then we're going to go into maternity leave. Maternity leave for Congress people. Oh, I should say Congress women, because dudes.
Yeah, what are you doing, bro?
My bad, bro. I
just caught that.
Oh, tranny. My bad.
For the Congress people.
Sorry. Congress women that have babies, because men can't have babies. Drama alert.
That's crazy.
I know.
That's a hot topic.
I
bro.
might get canceled.
That's a hot take.
Bro, did you know that mommies have babies and daddies can't have babies? I might get canceled, but it's okay. If we were if we were live on Twitch, we would have literally got banned for that. Be like, well, that was a nice time. What is even this world? There's certain things like that I'm just like,
that's crazy.
I'm ready for the fire and brimstone. You know,
take us home, Lord.
Like, yep, we need hell. We need hell really soon, because a lot of people got to burn. But it's what it is. Whoa. Speaking of burning,
I don't know what.
But
this is the libs' greatest fear.
Daddy Trump. But so maternity leave for Congress people. Essentially, what kind of is going down is that these women are saying, I'm getting pregnant and I can't fly before pregnancy. So that's not good. I also can't fly like right after pregnancy with the baby. So they want like months on end of voting remotely. Immediately, I was like, well, what do I want to promote? I want to promote more babies. And so, because it's funny thing is, it's a Democrat and a Republican who are both like either just pregnant or they just birthed or whatever that is. Either way, they're both women that are close to that time frame, and they're both pushing it forward, and they're trying to get it passed. The problem is, at least for me, is how do we verify that it's you voting? But most importantly, you're kind of like running the nation. So like, I think you should be there in person. You know, like it's one thing if you're working for Microsoft as like a support person, you know, and your name's Pajit, and you know you're jumping on a live call with an 87-year-old grandma, and she's like, you know, why do I have this blue screen on my, you know, and is that kind of thing. I get that. Do it remotely. It's fine. But when you're running the nation, I kind of want you in person, because not only that, you also can feel like legitimate pressure. If you're at home, you can insulate yourself from pressure that's natural, right? If you're in the house, on the House floor, and you're seeing all the protesters outside, let's say there's 200,000 people that show up to DC to protest. You're going to feel that energy, right? And I think that's actually good. That's part of running a nation. It's like, oh, okay, I actually feel like I have some movement, or I feel some kind of connection. Cody even pulled up Cory Booker talking for 25 hours straight. He broke the record. The previous record was 24 hours. Actually, kind of impressive. I'm not gonna lie.
To talk for 25 hours.
But either way, like if you're not there for those moments where you feel like part of like really crafting and guiding the nation, you can't just be like, oh, I'm gonna work from home for a couple months. Like, no, you're running the nation. Like I totally get. Don't become a congressperson. What does my gut want to say? My gut initially was like, it's moms. Let's protect the moms. But then I was like, you know what? Hot take. Cody, are you ready for it? We're gonna do it. We're gonna throw it out there. I think. Can you look up the amendment that allowed them to vote? Is it the 19th Amendment? Look it up real quick. We're gonna officially be canceled, but I don't care. It's fun. It's fun. Because I mean, this is honestly. I mean, I'm actually. A lot of this is tongue in cheek, but with the same token, there's truth in everything. I think it's the 19th Amendment. Yep. So the 19th Amendment allowed women the right to vote. Now, what has happened since the 1920s, Cody? What happened? The First World War happened, right? And the men of the country and the country said, we're never going to get into another war. We are never, ever, ever going to get into war. And you know what happened in World War II that got us involved? Well, it was the Democrat vote that got us involved in World War II, at least against the Germans and whatnot. And our country has never been the same since. We've been we've really had a lot of problems since then. It got us into overall a major conflict with the Soviets, and we still have a problem with the Russians to this day because of it. There's just, the moral decay of this country, also just so many of our soldiers dying. What's interesting is that the women came in and really swayed towards the Democrat side, which got us involved in the war and have got us subsequently involved in many, many other wars. Republicans, up until the neocons in the Bush era, were always anti-war. That's an interesting fact, is that the Republicans were not really that pro-war until the freaking neocons came in, right? And, the aggression kind of started with Ronald Reagan. Admittedly, it kind of started then, and it kind of carried on, and the bad sides of the Democrat and the Republican Party have continuously been supportive of war. The Republicans are now starting to go back to that 1920s viewpoint, where we're like, hey, let's not be involved in every war, more isolationist. But women, they didn't have to go and fight the war in World War II. So it's very easy to be like, yeah, we need to protect them. All right, you go and fight. It kind of reminds me people make fun of Ben Shapiro because he's like, let's go fight the war in Israel, and it's like, what are you talking? You're not doing it, he's just like, hey, you go fight and die. Hey, you go fight and die, just kill him. That's his whole thing. And it's just like, yeah, but you should only have that position if you are in a position to be affected by the decision, right? If you're a young man, you are registered for selective service. I am. You are, Cody. If selective service comes through, we got to get on the boats. We got to run up to the Chinese. We got to start blasting. We're going to be like, oh, my goodness, what? And you know what we're going to see?
See, you're probably good, though. You know why? I'm going to get drafted before you get drafted.
Because I'm a firstborn.
Because you're a firstborn and the only son.
That doesn't matter anymore, though, does it?
I think it still does.
You think it still does?
Yeah. So, I'm smack dab in the middle. I'm gone.
You're on the boat.
I'm getting drafted.
You're like, oh, my gosh.
I'm, on the first line. I'm, the first one off that just gets shredded with bullets,
And you're like,
D-Day, bro.
At least women can vote. I might be getting torn to shreds because I'm fighting for Israel, but at least women can vote, Cody. It was all worth it. It was all worth it.
Crazy.
But
you're gonna get canceled because I didn't say any of this.
Yeah, but Cody is he doesn't believe any of this stuff. He's absolutely abhorrent. I see him in the corner. He's just like, I can't believe that. He said he's gonna raise his son as a they them. So who knows? But
okay, that's not true.
But
that's heresy.
But yeah, no, and I do think there is an element of men are less emotional, women are more emotional in these situations, and also it's just more like, hey, by the way, women shouldn't compete in male sports. That's a held position across the United States of America. It's a supermajority actually believes that. It's interestingly enough. It's around 70%.
Yeah, it's not just Republican, by the way.
Not just Republican.
Anybody with a brain.
anyone with a brain. But you know what the ultimate sport is? War. Like, there's no higher stakes than when you're trying to kill someone, right, in combat. So that's kind of where you go, okay, well, if women can't even compete in the NBA, right, women can't even dribble a basketball down the court and make a layup in the NBA, they probably shouldn't be, like, holding flank, you know, or you know, diving into the trenches with a platoon, right? So I totally get it, and I agree. That's why women are not required to be drafted. That is why that is, and that's why it's an evolutionary thing. If you are mad at me right now, talk to God. That's all I got to say, because He's the one who made the biology. Be mad at Him. Don't be mad at me. It's how it is. I'm sorry. I don't care. And if you're mad at me, you're probably going to hell anyway. So it's what it is.
Oh my Lord, that's crazy,
bro. Well, if you deny biology, you deny God, don't you? Right? If you're like,
I mean, they could be mad at you for a plethora of other reasons.
Okay, if you're mad about me saying that, is what I meant to say. But you know, I mean, it's what it is. If, like, don't deny God, and you won't burn. You know, it's what it is. But it's very interesting though that we kind of go into this position where you have people who can't get drafted, but yet they can be like, vote to have people get drafted. Like, literally, you could be like, I'm not getting drafted, but I'm going to send you to war. Like, what? How about no? So that's my personal opinion. I think it's a very logical one. I've actually heard a lot of people also hold this opinion, but their solution to it is, let's let women get drafted. So we lose every war? Like, no. Like, let's not do that. Like, I mean, that's not a good idea. So it is kind of funny how you hear somebody start to give you like a based thought, and you're like, yeah. And then they say the most retarded thing ever, and you're like, well, back to square one.
It's like, we're going in the right direction.
Yeah, it's like, yeah,
and then
go,
we just
go.
got off the wrong exit.
So women should be drafted. And you're like, oh, really? Really? Have you been to college? Really? I don't know if you've looked around, but I don't exactly want that person on 8 antidepressants with an AK-47 that they gets jammed and they're not even. Anyway, that's what it is.
We also don't want a world of just men, because that would be terrible.
Oh, just men?
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be the worst. We would go extinct, first off. Second off, we would do nothing, because everything we do is for women.
That's a good point.
We would literally do nothing. As men, we would do absolutely nothing, which is kind of a weird thought. I think that was also in God's thought. He was like, Adam's being a lazy sucker. And how can I get this guy doing something? But it's pretty good. I would actually love to know the. I know God said, He wanted to make a partner for him, but I would love to know if there was also like a forward thought of like, through the generations there will be like incentive to have something to work for, right? Because it's responsibility, right? Because responsibility, that's what does it. It's a form of responsibility. Obviously, to obtain the mate, you want to become impressive, but then past that, once you have a family, which is the natural progression, unless you're doing haram, then you have responsibility then. Anyway, we kind of went down a path there, but it does kind
of canceldom.
The path of canceldom. But no, I mean, it does ring true to where if I held that opinion about voting in the 19th Amendment, what my opinion is on them serving as Congress people. That's just my opinion. I think it should be guys, but I also think there should be term limits, because there's some old geezers in there who need to get got. So
we do have some friends that will remain unnamed that are females that don't really think women should vote.
Oh, not just a few. Not just a few. I'm going to say 50%.
Nobody's going to believe.
No one's going to believe us. By the way, they're not saying this like out in public, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's not, these aren't, this is very much of like, they're being genuine. So the right wing right now on the influencer side is full of right wing feminists, full of them. Like those women in those suits, which is haram, by the way. And they're in those suits, and they're like going off and saying all this crap. And then when you call them, because they literally verbatim will just repackage a leftist, Marxist, Jewish idea and package it in like some, kind of conservative.
MAGA.
Yeah, MAGA. They'll put a sticker on it, say MAGA, and say, I hate illegal immigrants. And they're like, ta-da, and it's like, no, you're still a Marxist leftist that just put on a red hat, you bimbo. So anyway, it's what it is. And what's really interesting is if you brought up these ideas to supposedly right-wing influencers, or at least on the female side, they would be so mad at you. They would be so mad. And I would actually take pleasure in that. We should actually try to get some guest spots to really start shaking the boat.
You can do that. I'll sit in the shadows.
No, Cody, we gotta go. I'll go first to break the most crazy, and then you come out with like the pat 'em up. Like you go on the next episode to like kind of ease things over, but still hold those positions. And that way they'll be like, at least you're not like Caleb. But then you can we need to infuse their brains with some actual right wing ideas, because they need the Lord. So it's what it is. But no, it's. That's where we're at. Hopefully they're not all working remotely and from Zoom and like, oh, I can't come to work for the next 4 months because I have to vote remotely on whether we go to war. What? We might go to war. Can you come in? No, I can't come in. The baby's a month old. Okay.
Then you get that.
She gets a notification on her phone. She accidentally clicks the wrong button and it votes yes. And she's like, and we're like, all right, well, we're going to war. Like, I mean, what is happening right now?
Oh, I thought I accepted my DoorDash order.
It's the DoorDash. Dude, she's talking to the DoorDash guy, like accepting the thing, and she's like accidentally, how you have your finger on your phone? And oh my gosh. Or she says, they're like, oh, everything look good? Yeah, it looks great. And, she's on the phone. It just said
the
yes.
Deciding factor. Votes on a 2,000-page bill.
Oh, gosh, that's probably why we're in debt. Everybody's working remotely doing Uber Eats. Freaking bunch of... Anyway. But I mean, to be fair, I also think, like, I'm sure there's a lot of guys who would be for that because they're lazy suckers, right? And they're like, I would prefer to work from Idaho, And it's like, no, bro. You got elected to the U.S. Congress. Like, you go to the U.S. Congress, you sucker. Like, that pisses me off. But so anyway, also, it's not just girls who are exempt from... who are kind of on this. Guys are not exempt either. I mean, I'm sure there's a ton of them who need to be beaten with sticks.
Well, talking about in person, not maternity.
Cody, are you saying that men can't get pregnant?
Yeah.
I don't know if we can do the show anymore, bro. That is just... That's
We're
so
going to
get
a cease and desist order.
Bro, you're so right-wing. Like, I don't even know if we can cohabitate. Bro, I
don't like
on
that
set, word. Bro. Oh, yeah, that's right. Oh, are you saying that? Are you homophobic, Cody? Cody just did like a homophobes right there. What is it called? Homophobe? Like, what is it called when you do a homophobia? Because I do plural a day, so I want to know. Oh, man.
You just are a living one.
I'm just when somebody says what school they're from in an NFL game, the Ohio State, the homophobe. But no, anyway, we definitely got down a wild path there. Let's bring it back. Let's bring it back to what this show should be about. We're going to Christendom. Christendom and the Christians are being persecuted. Not a new thing, but the, what is it? Persecuted.org. It's a nonprofit. And they have just kind of released an article talking about India and how they are now moving, India to a country of particular concern for Christians. And that's kind of interesting for me because I just didn't really think of India as kind of that place. I knew that they were extremely Hindu or Hindi. And I know that they also had a large Muslim population, which I knew the Muslim population was kind of coming under a good amount of fire, but I didn't know if the Christians were kind of getting pulled into that. But either way, there was over 1,100 incidents of kind of persecution / what would I say, actual events, things happening to Christians, getting thrown in jail without any charges, and basically no due process. There's over 1,100 incidents just this past year, and that's like up of quite a big percentage. So either way, it's just very interesting how that's coming along because we think of like Pakistan, we think of, China, we think of some of their neighbors as not exactly okay with Christianity, but India had just never kind of came to mind. So either way, it does look like things are getting a little rougher there for Christians, which is pretty wild. Pretty wild. I wouldn't have seen that coming. What is your take on it, Cody? Or does that surprise you, or is that kind of like yeah?
I mean, it doesn't really surprise me, and I would say the only reason for that just comes to mind is it is vastly, what is it, Hindu? Or is it Buddhist? I think it's Hindu. Yeah, it's vastly Hindu. And I think this article is alluding that even the prime minister is kind of, I'm not saying inciting the violence, but I think he's made remarks that aren't stifling the violence, one would say. So, I don't know. It just, you hear some rough things about India. So.
Oh, Modi.
And I mean, I would say I completely shot in the dark here, but I would say that I'm sure they're influenced in a way by their neighboring countries' hate for Christianity.
Yeah, because and I think maybe a lot of times like we don't think about it like, or maybe it's kind of a passing thought because we know that their news is that the Muslims are getting persecuted in India, right? Because the Hindus hate the Muslims because Muslims are violent, right? I know that's a really broad thing to say, but broadly speaking, most incidents are, through immigration are that particular group, especially in Europe and India. So the Indians are like really mad about it. But I think it's very interesting how they just have so much vitriol for each other. I believe it was something like, oh my gosh, it was something crazy. I want to say that it was over like 20,000 incidents of Muslims getting the same thing, right? Like thrown in prison without any type of charges or whatever. Like, I mean, a shocking amount, even more than Christians in India. So they're really going at each other. But you just have this situation where, if you don't have God, because I mean, we believe it. We're Christians, right? And we don't believe that Hinduism is a path to God. I think the Pope came out and said all religions lead to Christ, and it's like, okay, guy, all right. You're not cool. But you can just see that part of the world, I mean, just look at how they live and then look at the products that they produce and then look at how much hatred there is for each other, Like, I mean, that's pretty rough. It is. It's pretty rough. And you could just kind of see it as like an absence of Christ and God. And I think that anytime a society is set in that, what would I say, precursor to that, right? Okay, well, we know Christ in the society. Things are not going to go well, right? I mean, Cody, can you think of an example of a place that doesn't have really Christian roots that is, for the most part, free and, a really good place to live? I can't think of one.
I mean, probably some of your safer countries are going to be Europe, and it all has started with heavy influence of at least Catholicism.
Yeah, or Christian roots, yeah.
Yeah. So
Canada, U.S.,
yeah,
Europe. I mean, you could say Dubai, but the honest truth is, they have certain rules, right? Like, I mean, you can't say a lot of stuff, especially against Islam, right?
Yeah, I was actually just talking about Dubai with somebody the other day, and they were saying it's literally illegal to be homeless in Dubai.
Oh yeah.
So like, if you become homeless because you can't afford to live there, you just get sent out. You just get sent away.
They send you to the slave camps, yep. Which I actually love that idea. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's certain things I like, Cody, about it, but
I was just stating fact. Okay, I wasn't saying it was good.
Wait, can we add that to the? No, but I mean, they also, I guess this is also kind of a positive. Man, maybe we're liking it, but you can't drink there. You can't do drugs, and all that. Which I think the drugs part is good. Drinking might be a little extreme.
You can't drink in Dubai?
No. No, it's against Islam to drink. You can't drink in a lot of Muslim countries.
Well, I figured that, but I figured like Dubai is such a heavily
fact check me on that. I'm pretty sure you can't. But is it legal to drink in Dubai? Do legal, because I'm sure you could smuggle it. But You can drink in Dubai, but a licensed establishment. Okay, so they do have legal consumption. It was Qatar, maybe.
It's illegal to drink in public spaces.
Okay, so that's similar to the U.S., right? You can't drink in the public spaces here in the U.S.
Yeah, it's very, very similar.
Okay. So you can drink in certain places. Wow, so that's a really liberal place. Can you look up Qatar? Because that's where the World Cup was. I think it was maybe Qatar. Alcohol is not entirely banned in Qatar, is heavily regulated. Okay, so it's a very similar thing. Because I believe if you get caught with alcohol, I believe that's a big problem.
It says zero tolerance policy for public intoxication.
Dang. Dude, you do not want to be caught in a Muslim country under a zero tolerance policy. I don't care what you're doing. But no, I mean, I think one of the biggest problems with the Islamic countries that we may consider certain ones safe, like Qatar or Dubai or Saudi Arabia, like very safe places. But for instance, their ideas are just not the best. So they can't really, they protect them by having censorship, right? Like in America, you can tell people about your Hindu faith. You could tell people about your whatever faith. Same thing in Europe, most of Europe. But you can't do that in their countries, right? You can't go to Qatar or Dubai and start telling people about Jesus, right? And actively convert people. Look up, can you actively convert people from Islam in Dubai? I'd be interested to know that. I know in majority of the Muslim countries you cannot. Dubai is the most liberal of them. So that's why I'm curious if that's true. Conversion from Islam is discouraged.
Is against the law and could lead to severe consequences, including jail and deportation.
Yep. So it's against the law. So, and that's the most liberal. So remember that. A lot of other places is death. So this place is jail. So, I mean, it's what it is. But my main kind of concept is the places that are born upon Christianity typically have a lot more freedom. And not only that, but they're open. You can go to Mexico and you can tell people about Islam. They're not scared because the honest truth is that Christianity is a foolproof ideal, right? There's not the holes in it like you have in the Quran and in these different things. So anyway, that's just an interesting thought that I had. Like even the places that you can think are safe, at least safe, like even Russia, at least Russia's safe, right? But I would say it's a Christian society, right? In Russia, you can convert people to Islam. You can still do that. They still have a massive Muslim population. I mean, Dagestan, right? All those fighters from Russia are all Muslim. So that's kind of an interesting thought. But it's not a two-way street, right? You typically have, Christianity is not afraid of other ideas, but the other religions are very afraid of Christianity. So that's just an interesting observation. I think it's something worth noting. I think a natural, if something occurs multiple times in a natural environment, like for instance countries, there's something to be deduced from it. So anyway, hopefully things get better in India for the Christians. We'll see what happens. Don't go to Dubai and be drinking out in public or trying to convert people to Christianity, because either way you will be severe consequences. Which in a Muslim country they don't mess around. But anyway, guys, if you have any other topics that you want us to cover, let us know. If you got any value out of this video, like, share, and comment. And we'll catch you on the next episode.